Okay, yeah. So looking back at the game, similar to what we thought. You know, there's some unbelievable flashes of good play, certainly at the end. It was great to get that done, but a lot of things to clean up. You know, the special teams was a problem, and you know, they hit big plays on us, and so like we said, I think Utah is a dangerous type team. I mean, I know they're not happy with their record at all, but they do a good job, and they make it really tough on you. But I think it's great that we were able to come back at the end and you know, really produce when it mattered.
Chris, can you kind of talk through the two big special teams plays? Number one, I guess, the onside kick. Are the up ends supposed to be looking for that? And then the 4th and 17 fake punt.
Yep.
What's the breakdown there?
Two things. One, on the onside kick, our kids were looking for it. I think we got to do a better job of aligning the kids up. You know, in Utah, I've seen them do it every year. Every year they will surprise onside somebody, and when you're misaligned, they're going to get it. And the kicker did a great job of executing. I mean, he kicked it and recovered it, but there was a big hole there. So, you know, that's more on us than it is the kids. I mean, we got to get them lined right. And then 4th and 17, when we're rushing right into the teeth of it, I'm sure he has a green light when he thinks he can get it. You're not going to see many punters in the country in 4th and 17 run right by a couple guys and get a first down by a yard, but he's fast and he makes plays, and it was impressive. You know, it was hats off to those guys for being able to get that done.
Was that finish, those last 2 minutes, as exciting a finish as you've had in your career?
No. We've had some pretty good ones. But it's great. You know, it was great execution. You know, I don't really think about it as exciting. I mean, I know it was exciting. I mean, it's just like you're watching guys execute, but the 4th down, you know, just all those different type of things. And then to come back with I can't remember how much time we had when that last drive for those guys to hit a couple different plays. I guess that is exciting. You know, I don't think about it like jumping up and down, but it's like, that's nice. That's good football. That's how you'd like to see it.
So when you get the ball back 30-30, are you thinking at that point in time, with the handoff to Miles on the first play of that drive, that we're going to overtime?
Nope. We're thinking we're going to see what this run does, and if we pop a run, we are going right back on the ball, and we're going to go. And we didn't really pop it, but then they called timeout, and so we said, well, let's see if we can hit something here. But it's also concerning because if you turn the ball, I mean, they're thinking just like we are. They're thinking, let's get this ball back, and if we can get in good field position, then we got a shot at a field goal. They got that field goal kicker's big league. So you could see what they were thinking, the same thing. And, you know, if they hit the quarterback or we have an errant pass and they pick it off, now they're in great shape. We just happen to hit the pass and away we go.
Was Miles instructed to go down if it wasn't there on that first down play, or
no.
Was that just something that he thought was the?
That was him. Yeah, that was just him. Just I think cutting his losses a little bit. Yeah.
Of course, we saw Jake have his season best with most yards in a game. But when you look at his year as a whole, he's not only been accurate, but he's been efficient. He hasn't really been making a lot of mistakes. I mean, what growth have you seen from him in that department throughout the course of the year?
Well, I think, you know, that's Jake's game. He's an accurate, efficient type player. He really is. And even though we might not have put up the numbers that, you know, he did last year, the most important is the efficiency, that we have an efficient guy back there, and I think Jake does a great job with that.
And so when you have someone who's that efficient, I mean, how does that help you in the final 2 minutes, knowing that he's always going to try to look for the best decision? Because, I mean, I'm sure not every, I know you want every quarterback to do that, but I'm sure not every quarterback just can do it and make it not look simple, but just be able to do it in that kind of situation.
Yeah, I think the 2-minute drills are, you know, I mean, that's why those NFL guys get huge money, is to execute on third downs, a red zone where things are tight, and 2-minute drills. And I think that's when the really, really good quarterbacks show up and play their best and did a great job.
Jake has obviously been very cautious about throwing interceptions as part of his efficiency. Does that also have the other effect of him hanging onto the ball too long, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's some stuff that we haven't seen, I mean, you're going to always have those, but I don't think Jake is cautious. I mean, that pass that he threw to Miles, that thing was almost picked off this much, and so you'll see him throw those balls in there. I don't think of Jake as cautious at all. But I think certain reads and all those things, there's every game we're going back and say, boy, that'd be nice to rip one in right there and go from there.
What are the signs you look for when you feel like a quarterback might be overanalyzing things or at all hesitant?
Probably holding the ball. When you put the tape on and you're like, there's your first read and he's open, you got to throw it in there. I mean, that's when you might have some issues there. And, I think then the guys that are really honed into the system will get to number 2 pretty quickly and 1 to 2. And I think it's pretty much that simple. It's 1 to 2 and scramble. If 1 is covered, go to 2, and 2's covered, get out of there.
There's probably a coincidence, but after the helicopter flip on 4th down that ended up short by Jake, everything started kind of clicking, at least to the...
Yeah, knock some sense into him, huh? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know, that's what I'm asking. I mean, for lack of a better word, how just PO was he by not converting that play? Did that maybe fire the guys up a little bit?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I think he was a little bit, I don't think he was really ticked off at that time. I think he was like grateful that he was still walking and coherent, I think a helmet got him in the shin, and unfortunately that was all it was. And, I think the first thing he said is, did I have anything open? And then he's just, that just shows, we always talk about the quarterback being the most fearless guy on the field, and I think that just shows you, that guy will do whatever he needs to do to try to move the ball, score points, convert third downs. I mean, that was scary in a lot of ways. That's not what you really want your quarterback to do. We talk about kind of going low, but I think he thought that was the only way he was going to have a chance to get the.
I was going to say, to add on to that, though, when they do score on the next drive, the next conversation you're having with him, is there a noticeable uptick? Are you starting, because I know you talked about swagger.
Yeah, I think.
See it, confidence starting to build again?
I think our guys are they're pretty the same all the time, and that's what I kind of like about them. They don't get really rattled one way, and Jake's always been like that, but even O-line and those guys, you just kind of look at them and they're just ready to go play. And I think what always happens if you can hit a play, certainly two, execution sparks emotion, and you got to be able to hit a play to really get something going. And so they just hear the play and away they go. I think they were believing we were going to get something done, but they don't really show a whole bunch.
Does that mentality and attitude maybe get misconstrued outside as maybe a lack of energy or a lack of something, an outward emotion that, like you said, kind of sparks things?
You'd have to answer that, because I don't know what the outside, impression is on that. I mean that sincerely. These kids, these kids are focused, and they come to play. There's not that they're not, even if sometimes energy is always such an interesting word, for lack of a better, but it's that kind of performance anxiety. Like, you got to have it just right. Sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's not enough, and it's hard to control and it's hard to manage on both sides of it. And when it's not there, it's not because they're not all in, that they haven't put in, it ebbs and flows, just like it does as normal people. Like, sometimes we're just in that groove and sometimes we're not, and we're always trying to manipulate that and pay attention to it with our practices, our meeting times, and all that, so we can stay fresh and do what we need to do.
Did you agree with him that he was going to, Jake said post-game that he thought he might have broken his leg from the impact, and
yeah,
he's not a pre-med major, but did you guys think for a minute that...
I didn't. I thought he was... just by his reaction to what he asked me, I knew he was limping a little bit. I wasn't sure if he hurt his ankle or his leg or whatever. And I never really double checked to see exactly what it is. I saw his shin scraped up pretty good and figured it was one of those things where, you know, if you ever like running on stairs or stadiums and you slip and scrape your shin, there's not a lot of things that are more painful than that, and it looked like a pretty good one of those.
Did you, after seeing the tape, agree with the JoJo targeting call?
You know, that's a hard one. He hit the ball. That's where it went. But I think everybody's really sensitive when your head goes down and your eyes are down and you're leading in that way. So I always kind of have a hard time with, you know, I mean, we're all trying to make sure that this game's safer and our kids are safer, even the guys that are, you know, JoJo is, you talk about no fear. I mean, that guy has no fear, and you like him to use his shoulders and, you know, not his helmet, but it hit the ball. That's what it hit.
Again, I know you guys want to take the head out of tackling, you guys are using the rugby style and all that. When, you know, but you're also taught at an early age that you want to put the helmet on the ball. Where's the fine line?
Well, I think that's what needs to change. To not teach him at an early age, put the helmet on the ball. That's not what we want to teach. You know, I do think that. Now, exactly what the rule is, I mean, I guess they reviewed it at the command center and all those type of things, and so it is what it is. I mean, we would just always go back and make sure that when we're teaching, that we want to, you know, pull the ball out, lead with our shoulder pads, all those type of things. But I do think that that's the point, is like, yeah, these guys have been taught for a very young age to put your helmet on there, and we're trying to teach, don't put your helmet on anything. That's just, you know, a protection. Hopefully that's what the helmet's for.
When it kind of comes to that, when you're trying to teach guys the right way to do things, I mean, is it one of those things where everybody's kind of learned something different, or is there one school of thought you've noticed most guys kind of come in with, or what's it like to be in that teaching capacity with guys?
Can you say that again?
Yeah, sure. What I was asking was, when it comes to targeting and you're teaching guys how to hit, I mean, what's kind of the level most guys kind of come in knowing in terms of, you know, how to lead or kind of the right way to tackle? I mean, are you noticing one thing that they're all doing wrong, or is it every now and again you notice it, or?
Well, I think one of the problems is these angles change at the last second. You know, whether a guy's going for a ball or coming down or trying to make a guy miss, and then all of a sudden it becomes helmet to helmet, and that's probably the biggest thing. The other thing is when guys are going in there is a reflex, a human nature of a reflex to, you know, it's very hard to keep your eyes wide open and run your face into, I mean, it's like, and sometimes you'll see both guys doing that and you get helmet to helmet, but I think there's progress being made for sure. I mean, you look at the tape, and if something does come up helmet to helmet, I mean, everybody's looking at it going, hey, pay attention to this. We got to fix this.
Do you agree with the ejection, I guess, for lack of a better term, format? I mean, if you get a penalty on the last play of the first half, you miss 31 minutes. If it's the first play of the second half, you miss 59 minutes.
I know. I think I've always felt like it is hard to get thrown out in the second half. It seems like that's a much stiffer penalty, just because, again, you know, you've kind of moved on to the next game. The guy's sitting in the locker room to come out and get into the flow of the game. That one always seems a little bit different to me, but I don't really know what the answer is, but it does feel different.
What's your take on kind of the retroactive nature of some of those penalties? They may not necessarily initially be called on the field, but yet they could go back and apply it? Or
you talk about like to buzz them for targeting. I mean, I think they're trying to get it right, you know, and you know, if there's something that they missed out there that's, you know, such a big safety issue, that I think that's how it probably should be.
Saturday?
Yeah, how about that? Imagine that.
What do you make of what you see on these guys?
I think the thing that jumps out to me is how good their defense is. You know, it's always been since, you know, Mike Leach has been there about that offense, and everybody knows how prolific they are in terms of scoring points and moving the ball, and what a great system they have. And, you know, that hasn't changed. But the thing that has changed is the type of defense that they're playing. And it's impressive, and they do a great job. Those kids play hard, and everybody struggles with it.
Kind of what they do, it seems like they've been really good at stopping people on third down. I think they're number 2 in America at that. What do you think that does for a defense to know that they can get stops on third down? I mean, does that kind of change how you alter things, or what does that do?
Well, I think it's one of the key things you're trying to get done as a defense and an offense, to move the chains and get off the field. And, you know, they put a lot of emphasis on it, and they're good, and they probably, you know, a lot of it has to do with first and second down, creating negative plays, and so the longer, you know, those third downs are to convert, the harder it is, and I think they do a good job across the board on all that stuff.
What is it in particular that, when you look at them on film and third down, kind of stands out? Is it the way
Negative plays. They just move and blow things up. Yep.
They're not the biggest defensive line. What's unique about the way that they shift them or rush them?
Yeah, they stem every play, and then where they stem to is not where they're going to be. They're penetrators, knocking people out. It's very hard to play aggressive against them because they're going to move the entire time. They get on edges, blow things up, do a really good job with, you know, the personnel they have.
Is there a lot of things that they've done differently this year compared to when you guys saw that
I
last
think
year?
that there's not a lot that, I mean, everybody's always tweaking their system and all that, but it's not like a whole new thing. They've just gotten better at what they've been doing the last couple of years.
And Matafa in particular, what makes him such a unique talent?
He's a great athlete. You know, I mean, you don't usually say that about defensive linemen. You know, those are usually big. He is a really quick twitch. I mean, you can see him like get cut and put his hand down and play a cut and redirect, and like how he can change directions. I mean, that just really shows up. You're like, this guy is a big-time athlete playing in the D-line.
Line shifting, something that you see a lot more of now, and is it a problem for game plan?
I don't know if we see more of it. We might even see less of it, but that's part of their whole system, that they're going to continually stay on the move, pre-snap and post-snap. I mean, that's what they do, and they're good at it. And, you know, you get a lot of respect for it because everybody's got their style and their system, whatever it is. And they definitely have theirs, and it's not something that, you know, we haven't seen. They do more of all those things than anybody else we've seen, but they also do it better than anybody else that we've seen, for sure.
That's what kind of problems for the game?
Well, everything from assignment-wise to, you know, you think you have him or you have this gap, and then there's nobody in your gap, and you need to redirect, and they're just always on the move, and they're penetrators. So if they're going to move, it's hard to play aggressive on them, and they're penetrators. You need to play aggressive to stop the penetration, and it's a tough combination to deal with.
What do you make of your secondary this last couple weeks out?
Yeah, you know, I think we've been being tested like real football in the Pac-12 is what I think. You know, I think there's some good quarterbacks, and I think there's some good coaches that can scheme, and I think we've been tested like, you know, we really should be. I mean, to me, it's been real football. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah, you know, when you think about it, it's pretty amazing to throw him back. He never even played a Pac-12 game in his life. That's the first one he's played. And so for him to go out there and battle against some big receivers and all those things and not have a whole lot of practice time, he did a nice job out there. I was proud of him to go out there and compete like that.
His receiving core is pretty different from Stanford and Utah, just in makeup and speed and whatnot, and also in their scheme. What is going to be different about how you guys stop them? What strategy?
Well, the one thing you talk about, you know, system and what they're doing. I mean, they do their thing. I mean, he doesn't change it, and there's enough there that always keeps you off balance. They might be running the ball a little bit more than they've run it, you know, in the past, that I think has helped them. And of course, Luke Falk has, you know, been in that system forever. I mean, is he ever going to graduate? I mean, he's been there forever. I mean, so he knows that system inside and out. I think he looks better. He looks more comfortable. He's got a great feel for when the rush is coming. He'll get it out, and when it's not, he'll hang on to the ball and let his guys work. And so, you know, there's a reason that they're where they are right now, and, you know, playing what they're playing for.
What went right defensively for you guys last year? Because they had that offense and pretty much stopped them.
You know, we played good. I think we got a couple turnovers, and, you know, that can always help your cause. And you know, they're a hard crew to slow down. They're going to get their yards. They're going to get points, and so we're going to have to. You know, I kind of keep going back to offense. We're going to have to do something on offense because that's where I think things have really looked different than before. And like I said, I thought they did a really good job last year, but they've taken it to a next level.
How much does what they do offensively change what you guys will do to kind of help out your defense a little bit from a clock standpoint or managing the ball standpoint? Does it have any effect at all on what you guys do on your side of the ball?
I think not necessarily. You got to do what you got to do to score your points and those type of things. I think one thing that's interesting is I think they lead the league in time of possession, you know, which is really interesting for a team that, you know, that's usually a heavy run team that will lead the league. But what I think it means is they're hanging on to the ball and they're converting third downs and they're controlling the clock and the game in their way.
How much of that is with the backs in the passing game and just cognizant of that part of their offense?
Really big. I mean, their backs are. I mean, one of the backs is the second or third leading receiver, and they've kind of always done that. I mean, those backs are receivers. So yeah, they're playing with 3 and 4 wide receivers, but really they're playing with. If there's 3 receivers, 4 receivers, 5 receivers, because they're going to get out and they're going to catch the ball and he's going to find them. It's a, you know, they're explosive and they throw it down the field, but he's very good at checking the ball down and you think he got everything covered and there they go.
Offense and especially the receivers, like what for you kind of stands out about Tavares Martin? I know in high school he was definitely a guy that just burned people left and right, but when you see him as a senior, it seems like he's kind of this, well, excuse me, as a junior, it seems like he's kind of this do-everything guy. I mean, what have you noticed about him?
Yes, very, very fast, you know, great quickness. I think he's, you know, been in that system a little bit now, so he really understands what he's doing. He's a hard guy to cover. He's just a very good athlete out there, very good receiver. You know, his routes are crisp and those type of things.
In that same vein, Isaiah Johnson back, I mean, here's another week, another big receiver. I mean, what challenges does he present other than just size, even though that's a big part of it?
Yeah, I mean, what I think is unique about those guys and their offense is they definitely have a certain style of receiver at every spot, and that's the position they play. They don't move guys around. They play on the left side, the right side, inside, outside, and they get a bazillion reps of doing what they do there, and then they do it well.
I mean, is that unique, or is that kind of what you see every week from other offenses?
Most people move guys around. They don't do that.
Any update on the team's status?
Same status last week.
And also this will be the 11th out of 12 games where you're going to have to play at 5 o'clock or later.
I'm taking 5 o'clock as an early game.
I was going to say, have you guys been able to acclimate? Have you guys been able to acclimate and adapt to the?
Like I told you before, I mean, in our mind, we just play night games. That's just how we look at it. So it's not like, you know, surprise. We just play night games.
Pretty darn good record going into it.
Yeah.
There are fans who are going to say it's disappointing, and I'm thinking, is it the college football playoffs that have warped people, the hyper-intense focus on that, especially since you guys participated, and that it warps people's perspective on how difficult 9-2 can be?
I think that's a great point because people don't know how difficult 9-2 is. They don't know. It is hard. And I don't know if it's college football playoffs, but I think it's just expectations. You know, that's one of the hard things in this whole thing is, you know, it's just managing expectations. I say it a million times. Nobody has higher expectations for us than us. And, you know, we'll always give everything we got and be prepared and swing hard. But as you do better, no matter where you are, I've lived it every day where I came from. I mean, it's like, really, it's not good enough? And it's not, unless you win every game and never lose. That's just how it goes. And it's, you know, it's part of the world we live in, and it comes with the territory.
Are you done raging about that, or do you have private moments where you say, come on, people?
You know, to tell you the truth, I don't pay attention to that, but I know how it goes. I really don't. I mean, I say it all the time. I'm not going to pay attention to anything about that stuff, you know. I mean, if I got to sit there and pay attention to what Softy's saying, I mean, really? You know, I'm going to get all irritated like every other day.
But in terms of, like, I guess, like a perspective, I mean, you guys get 10 wins. I believe it's, what, the 11th time in school history that would happen. And the first, back-to-back season of at least 10 or more wins since I think 91, 92. I mean, given kind of what you know about this program and the way you've talked about Don James, I mean, have the kind of historical significance of that really dawned on you, or is that still way, way, way too early to even have that?
Yeah, we just take it 1 week at a time, and then, we do. And then when this thing's all said and over, 2 more games, we'll see where we are and appreciate it for a short amount of time and move on to getting better.